lack of oversight? The Treasury have this unilateral authority to dole out all of this money.
Well, look, I'll be the oversight. I'll be the oversight. We're going to make good deals. We make good deals.
So that was President Trump's response to concerns over the executive branch's control of the coronavirus bailout bill. The White House even issued a statement after signing that bill into law, mentioned, quote, constitutional concerns with Congress's inclusion of accountability provisions, that the president would not treat them as mandatory.
And so the president's oversight so far, as a friend of the show Aaron Glantz reports, includes a $170 billion tax break for real estate investors and $500 billion in corporate bailout money to be administered by Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. And Aaron is a senior reporter at Reveal. He joins us now. Thanks for joining us, Aaron. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Absolutely. Aaron, so give us a little bit of, given your authority on this subject, what are some of the concerns you have about implementation and oversight over the bailout process now that we've had a little bit of a week to digest how some of this money is beginning to go out?
Well, the fact of the matter is we have basically no transparency here. I covered the stimulus of President Obama in 2009. There was a website set up, recovery.gov, where we could see every small business loan, every grant to local government, every kind of funding of any type in that $787 billion bailout program. Now we have a $2 trillion bailout program, and we have none of that real-time disclosure. So as you said in your intro, the president is saying that he'll be the oversight. He's declared the Pandemic Accountability Committee of Congress to be advisory, and he has said that this special inspector general that is to be set up, that providing timely information to this inspector general is onerous. So I think for people like myself who want to find out how well this is going, how much this aid is reaching the right people, we are not going to be able to find out till way later. And that is hugely problematic.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm old enough to remember when Democrats in the Senate voted against this bill twice in order to try to get some of these oversight provisions in. I mean, what went wrong here? Because this is one of the big things that Democrats touted as a concession from Republicans, having this inspector general, having some oversight over this process. And now it looks like that's all just basically out the window.
Well, I mean, we have to depend on the president to follow the law that's passed by Congress. I mean, this is not completely unprecedented. President Bush, if you'll remember, used signing statements many times during his time in office to continue what he called enhanced interrogation, or what many would call torture in the war on terror. So, we have to see. We have to see. But Congress is going to go ahead and set up this committee. And then in addition to that, there is going to be an inspector general, and there are going to be journalists like myself watching. But the tools that we have to watch who aid is reaching and who it's not reaching are very minimal. For example, as you know, I've done a lot of journalism over the last few years about redlining, about banks' failure to lend to communities of color and people of color. Here we have the largest small business aid program in American history. Will it reach every community, or will it only reach some communities? We won't have the tools in real time to see that. You'll have to look to people like me to write stories about this a year from now or 2 years from now, after the help or damage has already been done.
Right, and that's the concerning part, Aaron, because we're already seeing some reports now that banks, despite the fact that it's not written in the law, are prioritizing people who already have existing loans with them for these small business loans. And these are people, I think the main point, and I'd like your take on this, is that these aren't necessarily people who should ever get the benefit of the doubt whenever it comes to implementation of these policies. That is government money supposedly going to small businesses that need our help the most, and that the middlemen are not necessarily to be trusted in this situation.
Well, I mean, we are using these banks like JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America and Wells Fargo. We are, that's the way our SBA lending program works. It's not usually the government making the loans itself. People usually are asked to go through their banks. And, in one hand, it's, banks are prioritizing their existing customers because it's a lighter lift. On the other hand, we do have to wonder about the consequences of that for serving the entire community. And another thing that we have to be concerned about, and something that I am hearing from small business owners, is that the definition of a small business in America is very wide. You can be a small business and have hundreds of employees. And so if you are a small business and you have like 200 employees, then you probably have the infrastructure to apply for a loan like this in a relationship with a bank that allows you to get that done relatively easily and quickly. On the other hand, if you're a business of that size, you may be able to float a little bit. Now, the businesses that are really suffering are, the things that we think of as small businesses, like a nail salon, a mom and pop nail salon with maybe 2 other employees, and they don't necessarily have the staff to navigate this SBA lending program as quickly. And so if the banks are prioritizing those existing customers, it does provide yet another burden for those truly small businesses that are being so hard hit in all of our neighborhoods.
And at the same time, one of the largest tax benefits is flowing to real estate developers. Talk a little bit about that, how that ended up in the bill and what the impact is likely to be.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we saw with this bill is a candy caning of people just putting things in it. And it shouldn't surprise us that much it's coming from Congress. But I wanted to call attention to this one gigantic tax break for real estate. It has to do, it's very complicated. It has to do with the way that people can depreciate their property. It's something they tried to get in the tax bill that passed in President Trump's first year in office. They couldn't do it. This is going to benefit Donald Trump directly because he has over 300 LLC shell companies, many in real estate. It will benefit his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. It will benefit some close associates of his, like Tom Barrack, who has been calling for bailout of the real estate industry by the Federal Reserve. But they were able to get this snuck in to the bailout bill, one of many provisions that were put in there. But this is one that I wanted to call attention to because it directly benefits Donald Trump and his inner circle. And since he's saying, I'll be the oversight, that is concerning.
Well, Aaron, thank you as always for shining a light on all of these things. We'll continue to get your updates. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, thank you.
See you. We'll have more Rising for you after this.